Today, for my consideration, Christ, I saw Manchester by the Sea, which I believe was about a man named Chester. He's a fisherman, that's why he lived by the sea. And, wait, no. Sorry, that's not right. No, sorry, right. Manchester by the Sea. Yeah, I thought it was really good. It's one of the movies this year at the Oscars that's pretty much nominated for everything. You know the kind, because the Academy just finds a list for Best Picture and then uses those films for pretty much every other category. So like I said previously, the Oscars are pretty much full of shit, but nonetheless, Casey Affleck was nominated for Best Actor. And you know, with some of my other Oscar movie reviews, I said I guess I could see why they would nominate the person for Best Actor or Best Supporting Actor or whatever. But with this, I definitely agree that Casey Affleck did a great job in this movie, and if he hadn't already been nominated, I think I might have even said he deserved the nomination for this, because he did a great performance in this movie. And then Lucas Hedges is also nominated for Best Supporting Actor. That one I agree with less, but again, I can see why they would nominate him. What I really don't agree with is Michelle Williams getting the nomination for Best Supporting Actress for her role in this movie. I mean, don't get me wrong, she did a great job, but she was barely in it. She had like 2 scenes where she really stood out in her performance, and then there were only like 2 other scenes where she had lines, and then like 1 or 2 other scenes where she was in the background, which I guess depending on the movie that would be a lot, but for this it definitely felt like she was barely in it. At least for me. And the way I see it, if you're barely in the movie, then it doesn't really make sense to get nominated for it, even for Best Supporting Actress or Actor. Not that she doesn't deserve recognition for her role in this, but when I think of like Supporting Actor or Supporting Actress, I think of like 2nd or 3rd tier character in the movie. And she was like a 3rd or 4th tier character in the movie, at least for me. So I definitely agree with Casey Affleck getting the nomination. I can see why Lucas Hedges would get the nomination, and I can also see why Michelle Williams would get the nomination, but I don't think she had enough screen time to warrant it. Okay, and also it received the nomination for Best Director. That's another case of me just being like, yeah, okay, I guess so. Because I heard part of an interview on Charlie Rose with like Casey Affleck. He was talking about the director, and I think I remember him saying how good of a director he was or something. I don't know. I wasn't really watching it, it was just on in the same room, so I don't really remember, but yeah, so I can see why he would get the nomination. And then also Best Picture and Best Original Screenplay, which I definitely think it deserves. Honestly, out of all the movies that are nominated for the Oscars this year that I've seen so far, besides the animated ones, because I really loved Moana, so I guess besides Moana, I think Manchester by the Sea is the best one. I gave it an 8 out of 10, and I've mentioned in previous videos how that's like a big thing for me, giving something an 8 out of 10 or higher, because I do it so rarely that I have like a list of movies that I've rated 8 stars or higher. And while I wouldn't say this was an amazing movie that I loved, I thought it was really good, and if I was just considering my enjoyment out of it, I would have just given it a 7.5 out of 10. But I also appreciated the movie enough that I give it an 8 out of 10. Because there was a lot about it, like how they mixed the serious and comedic moments. It's definitely not a comedy, but the human interaction felt very real, which kind of led to some comedic moments because that just happens naturally in real life, I guess. There are also some really dark moments, and sometimes it'll even go right from a really dark moment to someone having an awkward conversation, and you can't help but like laugh, I guess. That's where a lot of the humor comes from, really. It's just people interacting awkwardly. And I'm not a fan of awkward humor, but it's not really about the quality of the humor for this, since it's not even a comedy. Just that it feels realistic. There's just like people goofing around together and people being awkward with each other, which people always are in real life. I mean, definitely in my life. And I imagine a lot of people's lives too, but you know, I'm awkward, so it's just a basic part of like daily life that I think everyone goes through. And this movie really captures that. It's not what it's about, but I think that's an element it really captures well. And it also captures sadness well, and basically just human interaction. It captures it really well. And I think part of it is maybe due to the fact that the actors may be improvising a little bit in the scenes, which definitely works, because then that is just real human interaction. And I want to say it's an unorthodox approach to the movie, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I feel like Hell or High Water was done in a sort of unorthodox way, and I also feel like Manchester by the Sea was done in a sort of unorthodox way. Completely different, but Hell or High Water was also nominated for Best Original Screenplay. The way they're written is original. I mean, I still don't really know how I feel about Hell or High Water, but yeah. I actually have them right next to each other in my movies of 2016 ranked list. Manchester by the Sea is like right above Hell or High Water. I thought they were both really good. Although thankfully it was easier for me to process how I felt about Manchester by the Sea, while Hell or High Water was just a whole mess of thoughts for me on the movie. I talked about it for an hour. It was a 12-minute video. You can go check that out. It's on the channel. I did that one a couple days ago. This one's getting to be pretty long too, so I'll try to wrap it up. I also like how it took place in Massachusetts. I feel like I don't really think of a stereotypical Massachusetts resident in this type of story, so it was interesting seeing people like that cry and stuff too. Because initially you might think of Casey Affleck's character as like some tough guy from Massachusetts who goes to Dunkin' Donuts, like the SNL skit Casey Affleck did, but he shows real emotion in the character. I don't know, maybe that's a dumb thing to mention about the movie, but I thought that was interesting. So tomorrow I might see Silence or something. I think I'm gonna go to a movie theater tomorrow and see one of the movies in there. Maybe La La Land. So, okay. I don't know what I'll see yet, but until then.